Well, Gypsy came to be written because I guess in 1977 I was the camp counselor for this camp. I was the disco dance and folk singing counselor, and spent most of the time when I was not disco dancing teaching small children how to sing, Leonard Cohen songs, and songs like Living Suicide, which was my own composition, of course, and when they were trying desperately to get me to sing, Leaving on a Jet Plane. So I found this friend in the boys' camp a fourth of a mile up the road who was a Dadaist painter from Liverpool and had been sort of heavily involved in the anarchy in the UK movement going on at that time. Somehow he found himself in the Adirondacks teaching arts and crafts, much to his surprise and everyone else's. And we became really good friends. And I guess we had kind of a falling out at the very end there, but I still wrote Gypsy for him and gave it to him as a present, and he in return gave me his bandana, which he used to wear around his head while painting, which I still have.
Once upon a time, a very long time ago, I was the folk singing and disco dance counselor at a sleepaway camp in the Adirondack Mountains. A sleepaway camp, for those of you who don't know, is a place where you send your children in the summer so they can learn to commune with nature and learn independence. And so people from New York had sent us their children for the summer to look after. So there I was, and there was this boys' camp a fourth of a mile up the road. And in this boys' camp there was a sort of a strange person, and everyone was talking about him. Oh, have you met the new counselor? He's from Liverpool. I said, oh, that's interesting. Yes, and he's bald. Oh, really? Yes, he's bald and he has an earring in one ear. And he's going deaf. He was a rather singular person. He was actually a Dadaist painter from Liverpool who had been involved in some sort of strange Dadaist movement and had shaved his head in public and had applied to this camp, I think, in a spirit of anarchy that was gripping the nation at the time. And much to his surprise, had actually gotten accepted into this camp, far away from his home. So we met each other and we began. I think I asked him the question, which is the one that you asked at that time, which was to find out if you had any kinship with someone you would say, do you like Leonard Cohen? And if they said, who? Then you knew there was no chance. You probably wouldn't even have a conversation. But if they said, oh yes, or if they said, oh, was he that guy who sang that song, then you know there was a chance. Then what you were supposed to say after that is, oh, I like Leonard Cohen, but only in certain moods. Because after all, you don't want this new person to think that you are manic depressive. So, you have to sort of temper it until you get to know this other person better. So I opened the conversation. I said, do you like Leonard Cohen? He said, oh, yes. I thought, oh, that's really a good sign. And I said, I love Leonard Cohen, but only in certain moods. I said, hopefully. And he said, what moods are that? I love Leonard Cohen all the time. And so began our romance. It was a very, very long time ago. And the thing I remember most was that he used to hold me in his arms and talk to me about Liverpool and about the English breakfast that he was homesick for. And it was really fascinating to me to hear this kind of talk because it sounded so exotic to me. I mean, I had never heard of eating mushrooms for breakfast before. And so I always think of that, now I've been to England many times and I eat the mushrooms and the tomatoes and and I think of that guy. Even though I don't know why I should. I mean, it's not as though I think he deserves it or anything. And, it's not as though he's come around to see me in the 20 years that has passed either. Anyway, to make a long story even longer, this was a song I had written for him at the end of that summer, and I think it must be revenge really that keeps me talking about him, because he had said something. It was the end of the summer, and we both knew we were going our separate ways, and he asked me for my address, and I said no, I wouldn't give it to him. And so he said, well, I'd like to say I'll never forget you, but you never know about these things. And so now I think it was in retaliation for my not having given him my address. And So now every time I come to England, I talk about him on the radio. So he's forced to think about me whether he wants to or not.